All right, boom, let's go for it. We got a lot to get through today. Welcome everyone to live session number 3, how to write irresistible headlines. Couple quick logistics. Live session number 4 is Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. That is formatting and writing rhythms, another very popular one. Sign up for your weekly rapid fire intros. Who's done the rapid fire? I think that's one of the coolest and most unique parts of Ship 30 is that you can instantly match with another shipper. There's just no other place on the internet where you can do that. And we really love that. Shout out to Daniel, who is all over that automation, doing a tremendous job, making sure everyone gets a good match every single time. Keep sharing your learnings. We're seeing a ton of great essays and Twitter threads and visuals of our frameworks. Keep that up. It's really awesome to see when people do that. And then finish week 1 strong. Look, I'll be honest, week 1 is kind of where the break happens. You either say, I'm sticking to this, and I'm showing up every single day, or you're going to miss a day. And then you let that second day creep in. And then from there, you really struggle to get back on. So it's all about finishing this week strong. Get your essays out. Don't miss twice. Use the type share templates, and we're going to be in good shape. All right. Most important part, maybe the most important part. We got our top shippers. Shout out to everyone who has every single badge. I will preface this. There will be, I think, 3 or 4 who are not on here who, if you waited till the very last minute, you didn't make it today because we had to do this before, but a lot of people did. So lesson on this one, don't wait till 5 minutes before. We updated this with about 10 minutes to go. Top shippers, amazing job. Everyone should be on. Everyone should be on. The Ks are on this time. Every single time we have this board up, there's going to be fewer and fewer people, which means those rewards and our gold doubloons each week are going to get a little bit better because we're going to have fewer and fewer people. But this week, or today, I should say, we have 5 TypeShare Reach template packs we're giving away right here live. Cole, you want to talk about what these are, how they help, all that?
Yeah, so we have, when you join TypeShare, there's a bunch of just fundamental packs that you get access to. If you're in Ship 30, obviously you get the 30 days of shipping pack, but then we also have a handful of other packs that are part of some of our other courses and products, things around audience building, clarifying your niche, building a newsletter, creating an ultimate guide, writing an ebook, all sorts of different stuff. And so we have template packs that are paired with all of these other products. And so, for example, in the audience building product that we have template packs that Dickie and I use to put our own content strategy on autopilot. We use these every single week. And the Reach pack specifically is focused around how to write things that appeal to the widest possible audience that's still relevant to your niche. So the Reach pack is all about expanding and reaching net new readers. Whereas we have another pack that's called the Resonance pack. Maybe we'll do a giveaway next week. Or with the week after with the Resonance pack, that's about engaging people. So you attract all these people, you've engaged them. So yeah, we're going to give some of these Reach packs away so that you can start building your audience. Let's do it.
All right, Daniel, how many numbers, what is the 0 to blank? What numbers are we picking today? Because we need 5 of them. All right, the third person to drop ship in the chat gets to pick the numbers. All right, that's it. We got Liana Majed. Am I saying that right? Whoever. Okay.
All right,
Liana, we need 5 numbers between 1 and 293. Let's go. The suspense. Nope. 56. 23. All right. No one else but Liana, please. 11. 78, 55. Wow, she kept the numbers low. Kept the numbers pretty low, so we got a lot up there. All right, Daniel, who we got? Who are our winners? We need some music for this. Colin Ram, congrats, Colin. Awesome. Who's next? Dun 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 dun. Andre
Savuchik. Yeah.
Savuchik. There we go. All right. 3 more. The suspense is real. Come on, Daniel. Pressure's on. We need this faster. Donna McCurley. 2 more. Congrats, Donna. Awesome. 2 more.
This is our next automation sequence right here.
Yeah, right. Cody Merrill, and 1 more. 1 more. Missing the last number. I think it was
11.
Let's see. It was 11. No,
Oh, 50,
55.
no,
55. 55. 55 was the last number. Congrats, Cody. Awesome. 1 more. And Arvin Bala. All right, so we got Arvin, Cody, Donna, Andre, and Colin. Congrats. We will follow up with you. You'll be in the email. Congrats. If you want to win next time, we'll hopefully pick some deeper numbers and we'll flip the order around and we'll randomize it all. But it's all random. We know it's all random. So from here, that's all we got. No complaining about the rules. We make the rules. That's it. All right, on to the next shipper shout outs. What do we got, Cole?
All right, just a couple we want to celebrate. So here, Javier, he said, hey, celebrating the small wins, getting almost 6,000 views in the first 7 days. I want to double click on something here. 1,000 views a day. So imagine you got 1,000 people all reading something you wrote. Imagine 1,000 people in a room. It's very easy on the internet to be like, oh, that's not that many. If you had to read your writing in front of 1,000 people, you would freak out, right? I would freak out. That's a lot of people. So it's worth celebrating and remembering, like, hey, your first 100 views is epic. Imagine 100 views or 100 people in a room, right? Your first 1,000 views is epic. Imagine 1,000 people in a room, right? So don't take these for granted. Nice work, Javier. Second, love this. I've been seeing this ship 30 bump on Twitter is whenever people share their analytics from the first week. I appreciate you sharing these on Twitter, because what you'll notice is obviously it's all relative in percentages, but in that first week, because you're forced to write and publish more than you ever have in your life, inherently all the numbers are going to go up. And at the end of Ship 30, we do a fun thread and we ask people to share their before and afters and their analytics and all these things. And everyone's chart is up and to the right by an extreme amount. That's just naturally what happens when you start creating. So I love celebrating the fact that just because you're doing it, you're going to watch the chart go up. It's really simple. It's awesome. Nice work. And then Tamisha, it was in the Ship 30 cohort all the way in October of last year, and just hit 5 for 5 days in a row for the first time ever. And that's awesome. Like we talk about this all the time. If you don't write every day for 30 days, hey, all that matters is you don't miss twice. Just keep getting back on board, keep giving it your best, keep trying to practice that habit, right? We all go through days where we can't write. So I love celebrating stuff like this as well, because that's what it's all about. Like you're inevitably going to fall overboard. So swim around, get back on board, and keep sailing.
All right, real quick, Ship 30 course guide, where we are right now. Who's using the course guide? Still checking off your boxes every single time. Keep that up. That's all we got to do. You follow that checklist, you're going to crush it. Today's badge, you will rewrite one of your existing headlines using our new headline checklist. And then you'll also have a bonus reward sent to you. Who has seen the Endless Idea Generator bonus reward? You guys use it? Very easy to go through the checklist, exactly how to use the EIG, downloaded it. So obviously there, if you haven't used that yet, it's in your DMs. Again, our automations are all over the place. So you're getting more rewards left and right. Things are going awesome. Keep that up. And then keep reading the curriculum, keep reading the deep dive, all the stuff you know by now. You know the drill. So let's dive into what we got today, Cole.
All right. We are going to start by breaking some beliefs. Earlier in the chat, I saw Denise, who's a longtime shipper. She said, get ready for some brutal honesty on this call, okay? Some tough love. Inevitably, what's going to happen is at some point in this call, you're going to say to yourself, I do this. I make this mistake. And we want to preface by saying, that is great. That is fine. We are here to help you, okay? This is not we're trying to shame you. Just acknowledge that most people think about writing a certain way. We're going to help you break those beliefs, and we're going to show you the new way that's more effective, okay? So in order to do that, we first have to acknowledge what are the issues that people have with writing, specifically writing headlines? And kind of there's three big ones that we like to drill into because these beliefs are what hold people back. It's this idea of clickbait. It's this fear of writing a headline that's too long. And then this kind of really underlying, almost more psychological belief of, well, I shouldn't have to. Like, I want to do what I want to do for the reader. So let's start with clickbait. Okay. So in the chat, look at this headline: how to make $10,000 in the next 2 hours using just your 2 index fingers. Okay. So everyone throw in the chat real quick. Is this clickbait? Yes or no? Just simple yes or no. What do you think? Bunch of yeses, couple
It's
no's.
a good number of yeses, and I have a feeling that the no's are captain's table members.
They might be. They might be. So here's what's interesting, okay? The reason we love asking this question is because you always get very polarizing answers. And what we like to explain to people is that it's only clickbait if you fail to keep the promise, okay? It has nothing to do with, like, a lot of people will look at a headline like this and go, oh, there's a dollar sign in there, $10,000, instantly clickbait, right? Or a lot of people will go, oh, there's a number in the headline. Next 2 hours number, that makes me think of BuzzFeed. Oh, immediately clickbait, right? Or, oh, they're doing something. How I'm going to make money using just my 2 index fingers. Oh, that sounds so like I'm trying to trick you, right? Clickbait. Okay. But what we want to point out is all of these they're rush judgments, right? What you have to look at is actually, does the content deliver on the promise? And if you click this headline and you go, okay, all right, author, you're going to teach me how to make $10,000 in the next 2 hours using just my 2 index fingers. And point 1 of the piece is like, hey, you got to try really hard. And then point 2 is like, hey, you just got to put your mind to it. You got to do it. And then point 3 is like, and you know, if you just keep working, like, you know, eventually you'll make $10,000. You're going to be furious, right? So why are you going to be furious as a reader? Because you clicked on a headline and you expected one thing and the reader didn't give it to you, or the writer didn't give it to you, right? The writer didn't deliver on the promise.
The one sentence takeaway on this is there's no such thing as clickbait headlines. There's only clickbait content, right? So if you know that what you're writing is highly valuable, you need to do everything you can to get the reader to click on it. And we'll talk about that in the next one. But we introduced these beliefs right at the beginning because we used to save these to the end. And it was the entire live session to be like, yeah, but I don't know, like this feels a little bit. And we want to break that belief right away because writing effective headlines is one of the easiest upgrades you can make to not only improve your writing quality, but also get your readers reading everything you do. And that's kind of the goal of this whole thing.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize that if you write a headline, regardless of what style it's in, and you really deliver on the promise, your reader is going to be so excited about what they just read that they're then going to go share it with 5 other people, and they're going to go, you have to read this too, right? It has nothing to do with the actual style of the headline. It only has to do with what are you promising and did you deliver on the promise? And if you delivered, the reader's going to love it. Okay. So that's point 1. It's only clickbait if you make a promise and don't deliver. So whatever you're promising, you need to deliver on. Pushback number 2, though, is that then when we start to unpack this and we go, okay, here's all the things that you need to tell the reader in order to get them to click, right? You need to tell them what it's about. You should probably tell them who it's for, name the audience, right? You should tell them why, right? You should remember that you're writing for someone, right? And that someone is a human being. And so you have to get all of those things inside the headline. Now, what happens is when you start to write this, your headline gets longer and longer and longer to the point where this is 4 lines long. So let's just read it. 3 quick frameworks beginning writers can. Should I stop? Is it too long? Should it only be 1 sentence? No, you go beginner writers can what? Well, they can use to generate ideas so they never. Should I stop? No, if you're a beginner writer and this is speaking to you, you want me to keep going, right? So they can never stare at a blank page again and start going, should I stop? No, you go, I'm a beginner writer and I want to know how to not stare at a blank page anymore so I can start going viral with ease, right? And so the faulty belief with headlines is that it has nothing to do with the length. If I know as the writer who you are, and I know what problem you're experiencing, and I'm going to tell you how to solve it. You don't care if it's 5 words or 50 words or 500 words or 50,000 words. You will read all of them because they're about you, right? And so whenever people get into the how long should the headline be, it's because they're thinking, how long do I want my headline to be? Doesn't matter. It only matters what's in it for the reader.
The way to think about this one in one sentence is there's no such thing as a headline that's too long. There's only clear and relevant, right? As long as a headline is clear and relevant to the reader, they're going to click on it and they're going to read it. And you're going to save them time because you take away how much thinking they have to do, whether or not they should be reading it. This goes back to empathetic writing, which is what we talked about in the very first live session. If you are doing the reader a favor by saying, here is exactly what you are going to learn, or here's exactly what you're going to walk away with, or here's exactly what I'm going to talk about in one sentence, everyone's going to know whether or not it's for them. And then they can move on or they'll read it. So don't think about it as, oh, I'm tricking the reader or I'm setting them up for this. No, instead say, I'm doing the reader a favor by telling them exactly what I'm about to say.
And it's a lot easier if you start here, right? We're going to show you what are all the pieces that you need in your headline. Start with clarity around what are all the pieces I need. And then you can work on, okay, now how do I just get there faster, right? How do I compress it? But the mistake that people make, and we're going to talk about this, is instead of compressing something that's clear, they go, oh, I just need a short headline. And then they go to clever. And we're going to explain why that's such a mistake. Okay, so this is pushback number 2. My headline will be too long. No, it won't. No, it won't. There's no such thing as headlines that are too long as they are clear and relevant, right? Okay, so pushback number 3, but I shouldn't have to do this. Dickie, why don't you explain this one?
This is a psychological belief that I think a lot of writers struggle with from the very beginning, and I still struggle with it to this day. And it's this idea of I shouldn't have to, right? My content is so good that I shouldn't have to. My reader should just, everything I put out, my ideal reader should read. And I want to push back on this because I think a lot of writers fall victim to their ego on this front, where they say, my writing is so good that I can just slap any headline on it. And because I'm special and because I'm great and what I write is so good, I don't have to explain myself, or I shouldn't have to use this. But instead, I love this quote by Zig Ziglar, and I apply it to my writing. And it's, if you believe your product or service can fulfill a true need, it's your moral obligation to sell it. And the way to think about this with your writing is, if you are writing something that you feel strongly that if the ideal reader reads it, it's going to improve their life, why wouldn't you do everything in your power to get them to read it, right? Why wouldn't you put a number in it? Why wouldn't you clearly describe it? Because if you can get them to read it and you deliver value to them, you've improved their life, right? So instead of thinking, I shouldn't have to do this, or I don't want my reader to think it this way. No, think empathetically. And if you truly believe what you're writing is high quality, you should do everything in your toolbox to get them to read it. And what that does is it also forces you to write higher quality stuff, right? If you say, hey, I'm going to use tactics that get people to click, I better deliver on it. That way I don't get called clickbait. So it's this double-edged, both things working for you, where you say, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to get the reader to click on this. And then I'm going to do everything I can to deliver value and return on that click.
Yep. And building on this, I see Jay asked this question in the chat of like, how do you handle this if you're afraid of being embarrassed, or you don't want to come off too salesy, or like whatever the rationale is, you say, I don't want to do this. All we're advocating for is clarity. If I go, hey, Dickie, I know why people aren't reading your headlines, I can help you. He's not going to go, why are you being salesy to me? He's going to be like, you know why people aren't reading my headlines? Yes, please help me. Right? Just like you'd go to someone's house and be like, I know why your sink isn't working. I can help you. You're like, great, I can't figure out why my sink isn't working. Please help me. Right? So we're not advocating for you to like try and do some weird trick to get the reader. All you have to do is just tell the reader, this is what it's about. And that's what we're going to get into. Okay. So how you write irresistible headlines. Okay. There's this myth in copywriting that great copywriting is about tricking the reader. It's like you do this magic trick and then the reader just magically gives you their attention and you become this sales master, right? And then your soul hurts because you're taking advantage of people, right? That's not what's going on. Great headlines, great copywriting, great writing in general is all about executing clarity, being crystal clear about what it is that you're writing about, who it's for, and why it matters. So we're going to walk you through some of the proven headline styles. You're going to notice this everywhere on the internet after we point it out. We're going to give you a checklist so that when you sit down to write your own headlines, you go, okay, do I have all of the pieces that I need to make my headline crystal clear? And then we're going to show you how to twist the knife, which is okay, I got the reader bought in. Now, how do I drive home the benefit more and more and more? Okay, so let's dig into first. These are the proven headline styles. Almost every headline on the internet, everywhere, can be reverse engineered into these 5 buckets. You've got the list, the story, the opinion, the question, and the framework. And so all great headlines in some way go into one of these 5 categories. And if you're writing a headline that doesn't fall into one of these, chances are that means you don't know which one it is. And if you don't know which one it is, then the reader doesn't know which one it is. And if the reader doesn't know which one it is, then they're not going to read, right? So how do we get clarity here? So just to kick things off, we're going to do some workshopping all the way through this session. So take a headline that you wrote this past week and throw the V1 in the chat. You know, it doesn't matter if you already kind of made some clear versus clever mistakes. Just take a headline and we're going to workshop this throughout this session so you can see how to rewrite it.
Yep. So again, there's no passive learning here. By the end of this, you're going to take your headline and use all of the checklists to rewrite it. So I love the V1s that come in here, Cole, because we can immediately see some of the things we're going to address. And right by the end of this, bang, easy rewrites.
Yep. I forgot this is our first cohort with the Ship 30 pack. So some of these headlines you already have solved because they're in the pack.
Correct. That's correct. Right? That's correct.
So our goal here is, if you've been using the 30 days of shipping, is to make you aware of why those templated headlines are written the way they are. So that way you can design and write your own. Okay, so let's start going through them. The list. Every person has seen the list online. You've probably seen it more in the BuzzFeed context, right? So here, upper left, 22 people who definitely regret literally every decision they made this week. That's about as BuzzFeedy of a headline as it gets, right? But what people don't consider is that that headline is the same thing as 7 retirement income strategies once your portfolio reaches 500K. And it's the same headline as, what will our COVID future be like? Here are 2 signs to look out for. They're all lists. It's either a list of 22 regrets or 7 retirement income strategies or 2 signs, right? You're just listing things. And so the reason the list is so popular is because it's such an easy way of organizing information. And so often writers, especially when we first introduce this, they go, no, I don't want to write a list. I don't want to be like BuzzFeed. Just because you have a number in your headline doesn't mean that it's poor quality content, right? Again, whatever you promise, you have to deliver on. So the easiest place to start is, if you're thinking about, how do I talk about a bunch of different ideas, put them in a list. 3 reasons, 4 mistakes, 5 tips, 6 steps, right? It's just a list.
The human brain loves organization, right? So if you put how many things there are, chances are the reader's going to feel a little bit of comfort of, like, I know what I'm getting into. I know this can't be that long because there's only 2. I know it's going to be long because there's 11, right? You set the expectation from the very beginning, and I think it's helpful.
We have a great template in TypeShare called the grocery list template that you can use to organize a bunch of these types of things. But you can list anything, right? You can list books you should read, podcasts you should listen to, YouTube videos you should watch, reasons you should do something, ways to do something, right? Anything you can list, you can organize in a very sequential fashion. And if you want a little, I think we get into this in the next session, the formatting one. But if you really hate the idea of a list, just organize it in a list and then remove the numbers. Well, bam, you remove the numbers. Now you're not BuzzFeed, you're the Atlantic, right? It's the same thing. It's just one put the number and one didn't. Okay, so list, easiest one. The second one is the story. Okay. So a story is, it has to have some sort of beginning and end, right? So the story is not one thing happened. It's one thing happened that changed something, and now we're in a different place at the end. And so the whole key to writing a story headline is that you have to hint at both the beginning and the end. Okay. So you can't just say, like, I was once here. You have to say, I was once here and now I'm here. So there's this one. This 33-year-old left the US for Bali and lives on $2,233 a month, right? If the headline just said, this 33-year-old left the US, you would go, I don't care, right? What makes you care is that there was a beginning and there was an end to the story, okay? And so you think of your story headline as like a movie trailer, right? When you watch a trailer for the movie, it's like main character goes on a journey. By the end, they're here. Watch the movie to find out, right? So you need both pieces.
And I see some questions around, does this matter if it's the headline for an atomic essay or the intro for a LinkedIn post or the LinkedIn for a Twitter thread? These are all the same. Everything that is basically above the fold, where no one has read what you've said, they're deciding whether or not they're going to read it. So all of these frameworks apply to everything.
Yeah. And so whenever you're writing a story, you always want to think about what's the before and after, right? I started with 0. I ended up with 1 million. I experienced this. Here's what I learned along the way, right? I had this obstacle. I overcame it. These are the lessons I learned, right? You're always thinking in 2. And so often when people approach a story, they think of it as 1. They're like, this thing happened. No one cares that one thing happened. They only care if they know one thing happened and then something changed, right? So story, you're thinking 2, and you have to hint at the beginning and the end in the headline. That's how you get people to click. That's how you pique their interest.
It's all psychology, because as much as the human brain loves organization, they hate open loops. So when you create a curiosity gap, that's what gets the reader to then read. So, oh, I need to know how that happened. I need to know what the story was. How did they get from A to Z? I need to go figure that out. I'm going to read this.
We're going to show you a bunch of rewrites of these so you can see what these actually look like. But we just want to introduce, here's the thinking, okay? The third is the opinion, all right? Opinion is the most common form on the internet, right? Every person has an opinion. The key to writing an opinion, though, is giving the reader context in the headline of why they should listen to you. Okay, so take this and notice that these headlines I'm pulling from everywhere. These headlines are from Medium, they're from BuzzFeed, they're from New York Times, Wall Street Journal, The Atlantic. Like, every person on the internet uses these same 5 styles. Okay, so look at this headline. I've dealt with foreign cyber attacks. America isn't ready for what's coming. Okay, now if all this headline said was America isn't ready for what's coming, you would go, I don't know what this is about, and I don't know why I should listen to you, right? But by saying, I personally have dealt with foreign cyber attacks, you know what it's about, and you know why the reader should pay attention to it, right? Because that person is speaking from personal experience, personal credibility. On the flip side, you have something like, according to several millionaires, there is only one way to invest. Okay, so imagine that headline just said, there is only one way to invest. The reader goes, why should I listen to you? Right? But by leveraging other people's credibility, according to several millionaires, the reader goes, I understand why I should listen to you, because you went out and you gathered the insight from a bunch of rich people, right? So you need one of the two. It's either your own experience or curating someone else's experience.
This is what we talked about in the last EIG session of borrowed versus personal credibility. You need to figure out, and I think the overarching takeaway with the opinion, and really the first 2, are every time a reader comes across your headline, they are saying, tell me why I should read this. I either need to trust you, I need to think I'm going to get some kind of outcome, I need to understand where I'm going, I need to close the open loop in my head of the story arc that you just painted. So all of these are telling the reader, here's why you should read this. And that is the goal of your headline or lead in or whatever is above the fold.
Yes. And so whenever you're writing the opinion, right, you always want to think like, what is everyone else saying? And how can I say something different or opposite or contrasting? And we're not advocating for being outrageous for the sake of being outrageous. We do this in a very basic way. Everyone says start a blog. We say the last thing you should do is start a blog, right? What makes opinions work is they have to go against some sort of conventional wisdom. So the easiest place to start is, what's the conventional wisdom of your industry? Go against it, right? That's what makes the personal opinion work. And then the second follow-up is, and are you sharing this from your own experience? Or are you sharing this from, I'm curating other people's expertise and experience, right? All right, let's keep it rocking. Number 4, this is actually a personal favorite of mine, is the question. So an amazing technique of getting in the head of the reader is making your headline the question that they're either already asking themselves or that you want them to ask themselves, right? So notice this first headline: why does Roblox pay 1.2 million to a single developer? I didn't wake up this morning asking myself that question, but now that I see it, I'm kind of interested. Why does Roblox pay 1.2 million to a single developer, right? Or the second one, what is Web3? There was a day where I woke up and I was like, what is Web3? I don't understand it. Explained simply to a 12-year-old. Okay, great. I already had this question and I would really love it if someone explained it to me like I was 12, right? So an amazing way to reach readers very quickly is to do a little thinking around what questions are they already asking, and then literally make the headline the question they're already asking themselves. And so then they scroll and they go, oh, hey, I was just asking myself that.
And this is where, when you pay attention to the engagement on your writing, if someone's asking, how do you come up with so many ideas? There's your next headline. How to come up, how can someone generate 100 ideas in 30 minutes or less? Question mark. It's a good question. I'm wondering how someone could do that. Right. So all these are just different tools in your toolbox where every time you sit down to craft your headline, you go, which one of these am I going with? Am I combining? Am I using a single one? They're all tools in your at your disposal.
Yeah. And so with the kind of the barbell that you're balancing here is, how can you ask a question? And then how can you tease the answer, right? You're not giving it away, but you're teasing it. Like a great example is, I love this headline, made me laugh so much. Is this taxpayer heaven? No, it's Iowa. Right? So question, you know what this is about, hints at an answer. Oh, well, what should I know about Iowa in order to be in taxpayer heaven? Right? So you don't want to necessarily give it all away, but you want to hint at it. So then the reader goes, I have to click to fill in the rest of the story, right? That's what you're looking for. And then finally is this idea of a framework. You know, we could call it a breakdown, whatever you want to use. It's just this idea of deconstructing how something works, right? So here, the simple writing formula I'm using to get an additional 100,000 email subscribers. Cool. I mean, framework, formula, method, process, right? You're giving the reader basically a step-by-step guide. You're like, hey, this is how this is working, right? Headline number 2, how my $640,000 portfolio is invested. Why does the reader click? Because I want to know how your $640,000 portfolio is invested, right? So anytime you can take something and then tell the reader, I'm going to show you how I did it. This is the easiest way to do that.
All right. So drop in or do we have anything after this one?
Just this, a bunch of templates in TypeShare if you want to play with all these.
You'll see a lot of examples of these in the 30-day template pack. But so drop in the chat, which one of these are you experimenting with over the next week? List, story, opinion, question, framework. You're going to get a bunch of different opportunities, as always, to continue to learn this. But I think there's a great question that we get quite often after this is, do you write the headline first or last? And I'd say that 90% of writers come into Ship 30 and they say last, because they put the cherry on top at the end. And it's usually, I wrote this long piece and now I just got to find something and I got to stick it on there and get it out the door. But now you should start thinking of content ideas in terms of headlines. Because only when you have a crystal clear headline can you actually share what it is you're trying to say in a clear way. Where a crystal clear headline leads to crystal clear content. An unclear headline means unclear content. Where the writer can say, here's exactly what I'm delivering on. So they just stick something up top and they think, oh, I'm being clever. People are going to be blown away and interested. So this is now when you're doing the endless idea generator, instead of just coming up with ideas to write about, think about what your headline's going to be. And then you're going to say, oh, I know how to write that piece, because then you're just filling in the lines. You're answering the promise that you're making in the headline. And writing becomes so much easier when you know exactly what it is you're describing.
Yeah, something I like to remind myself is if you can't say it in 7 words, you won't be able to say it in 700 words. And too often, to Dickie's point, writers approach it with, oh, I have to figure out what I'm trying to say through writing. No. Sit down and figure out what you're trying to say with the 7 words that are in your headline. And if you can't figure out what you're saying in 7 words, I promise you 700 is not going to make it any easier. Right? So let's go through the checklist. What are all the things that you need in order to make a headline crystal clear, right? Doesn't matter if it's 5 words, doesn't matter if it's 15 words, doesn't matter. The word count is irrelevant. All that matters is, are you being clear? Does the audience understand who it's for? Does the audience understand what it's about? Does the audience understand why? And how much more can you twist the knife so that they understand why even more, right? So we're going to go through and show you all of these pieces. These are the 3 questions that readers are asking themselves, right? What we don't talk about enough in the world of writing is that just because you took the time to write it doesn't mean the reader owes you their time to read it, okay? So when you write something and a reader comes across it, what they are asking themselves is the thing you wrote worth 2 minutes of my life? Think about the gravity of that, right? They are literally asking themselves, do you deserve 2 minutes of my life? It's the most valuable asset we have, right? And so writers often do this thing, this ego thing, where they go, well, I spent 4 hours writing this thing, and so everyone should read it. Why? Just because you took the time to write it doesn't mean that it's worth their time to read it, right? So in order to get the reader to give you their time, you need to give them a mini sales pitch. And your headline is the mini sales pitch. Who is this for? What is it about? And why should they read it?
I think one of the most potent things, character traits you can have as a writer is a lack of ego, where you're saying, I'm going to do what I know works because I'm delivering value to someone. I'm not going to sit here and I deserve this, or I shouldn't have to do this. If you can crush your ego, you're going to see 10 times better results. And I think that applies to far more than just writing.
Yes. All right. So we're going to get into some tough love here. So everyone just know this comes in from the best place. We're here to help you. Okay. So step 1, clear, not clever. If you write a headline like The Dream Brigade, no one knows what you're talking about. Right? If you try and be mysterious, like a really cool mystery, super smart writer, and your headline is nothingness, no one has any idea what you're talking about, right? We grow up being taught and thinking that creativity equals ambiguity, right? The more ambiguous you are, the more mysterious you are. And so what writers think is happening is that when a reader comes across a headline like this, they think the reader stops everything they're doing, shuts off their phone, and goes, oh my gosh, I am in the presence of greatness right now. I need to set aside the next hour. I need to stop everything I'm doing, and I need to give you my full undivided attention because clearly you are a genius, and I am lucky to be in your presence. Right? That's what writers think is happening. And in reality, this is what happens. Reader comes across the thing on their phone. They go, The Dream Brigade. Nope, don't get it. Scroll, done. It happens in less than 1 second. And so our goal is for that to not happen for you, right? And so in order for that to not happen, you need to tell the reader exactly what you're saying. So here's a great example. the top 3 ways to sponsor women in the workplace rather than just claim your company does. Do we all understand what this is about to say? Do we all understand what this piece is about? Yes. Here are 3 ways to sponsor women in the workplace rather than just claim your company does, right? If this writer had chosen a headline like sponsoring our women, you would go, I don't get it. And then you're done, right? So everything we're talking about is about meeting the reader where they are and going, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to tell you what this is about in 5 to 15 words. And if this is for you, you got it. And if it's not, you can leave, but at least it's a choice.
The headline on the right, a lot of people would have come into this live session and said, that's clickbait somehow, right? The top 3.
Or it's too long.
Or it's too long, right? But I hope you're starting to come around to the fact that that is empathetic to the reader versus writing sponsoring our women. You are saving the reader time of thinking if they come across this, that it's for them or not. So that's the reframe. Just keep that in mind as you write your headlines, is how am I making my writing more digestible and easier for the reader to understand? That's it.
Yes. So let's do a couple rewrites so you can see this in person, right? Here's the clever headline on the left: how to lose time and money. Anyone know what this is about? Nope. Don't care. Moved on. I'm back to Netflix, right? On the right, let's make it more clear. How to lose time and money, a 30-day self-care calendar to reclaim your hobbies. Great. Now I know exactly what this is about. I can decide if this is what I want to read or not, right? On the left, the power of knowing the odds. Sounds like a genius to me. We should all stop exactly what we're doing and give this person our undivided attention, right? We're in the presence of greatness.
Back to TikTok.
Yeah, instantly back to TikTok, right? So how do we make this more clear? The power of knowing the odds. 4 keys to buying your first stock. Oh, okay, you're going to show me how to buy my first stock. Got it. Now I'm on board, right? Scenes from a half quarantine. Oh, poetic. Don't care. I'm back to watching a cat spin around on a ceiling fan, right? Don't care. How do we make this more clear? A vaccinated civilian's guide to being social again without feeling guilty about it. Great. Now I know. Right? So all you're doing is you're getting out of mystery land and you're getting into, I'm not going to waste your time. This is why I'm here. Is this for you? Yes or no? Right? So let's do our first little live rewrite here. Okay. So take one of your headlines, and especially if you erred on the side of clever, real quick, whatever comes to mind, how can you make it more clear? Right? What are you trying to say? Just say it. Don't try to say it. Just say it, right? So let's see if we got any brave souls. What's a clear headline? Even better if you want to share your clever one with it.
If you share your before and after in the same message, that'll be the best. So V1, V2, same message. That way we can read it. So write it in another window and then paste it in the chat box so you can post it all at once. We'll go 30 seconds for this rewrite.
All right, here we go. V1, how to truly be present for your cup of tea. There we go. Perfect, right? Classic clever. Here's the rewrite. The simple practice you can follow to be happier today for people looking to make a life change. Great. Great. Right?
And you can see all the different levers of specificity for people, or for single moms, or for millennials, or for rural suburban housewives, whatever. When you see a broad term, how can I get more specific with that? People looking to make a life change? No, people recovering from trauma, whatever it is. You get more specific with each word in your headline.
Yes. There's a great, an amazing, clever one I saw in here. SEO is a dog with separation anxiety. Funny, we have no idea what it's about.
But I'm not reading it. That's the
right
thing. I got to think too much.
Yeah, that's the belief we want to help you overcome, is like, just because it's punny, just because it's witty, right? It doesn't mean that the reader's going to give you their attention. Yeah, how to scale engineering, people edition. Okay, I can assume maybe that has to do with hiring. I could assume that has to do with training in some way, but I don't really know. Right? So we need to tell the reader this is what it's about. All right, let's keep it rocking because we got a couple more to get through. All right, so now take that headline that you've got the rewrite. The next step, we talked about this in the first session, the for who so that. Okay. The next step that you can do is you make the who as clear as possible in the headline, right? So you don't just say, here's some tips. You say, here's some tips for project managers. Here's some tips to avoid as a founder. Here's some trends for Wall Street analysts, right? You name the audience in the headline. So if at any point you're like, I don't know who my reader is, literally just name them in the headline. This is a guide for single moms with 2 kids living in a rural area, but want to learn how to launch their first digital product, right? Name them. And if you put that in the headline, that type of reader is going to pause and go, hey, that's me. And then they're going to read it.
We've done a couple of these. So things men secretly do. This is all about, like we said, finding where you're being broad in your headline and getting a little bit more specific. So things men secretly do, things confident men secretly do. It's a little bit more specific. You can name an age, things confident single men do, whatever it is. You can add specificity that way. How to get hired at Coinbase, how to get hired as a project manager at Coinbase, how to get hired as a senior project manager at Coinbase, how to get hired as a senior project manager at Coinbase if you've never been a product manager before.
Yes.
Right? Think about the person who that resonates with, right? I've never been a product manager and you're going to tell me a step-by-step guide to get hired there. That cuts out a lot of people, but every person in that situation that comes across it is like, I can't believe you wrote this for me. Now I'm going to read every single thing you've ever written. They're going to ask 20 follow-up questions, and then you're going to have an email course, an ebook, a guide, everything that comes on the back of that. So specificity is just the big unlock here, and for who is the easiest way to do that.
Yeah. So let's take the headline that you just had, and if you don't have it already, let's add the who, right? So, hey, this is what I'm writing about. For who? Name them. And just like Dickie said, right, you can get more specific. It's not just project manager, it's senior project manager. It's not just senior project manager, it's senior project manager with less than 5 years of experience, right? How can you name that who in a very, very specific way?
Natalie, this is why we do this session right here. V1, ask any question, make any comment, right? There's literally no clue what that could mean. None, zero, right? V2, women over 50 should always ask questions to inform their medical choices. I would get a little bit more specific and say should ask these 3 questions, right? And then you're giving them even more. But again, I love seeing these rewrites happen in action.
Yeah.
Thinking about starting an online business, ? Thinking about starting an online business if you're trapped in a soul-sucking job. There's the for who. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Here's a great one too. Don't die. V1, don't die with your magic inside you. Okay, great. Am I a wizard? Right? What are we talking about here? V2, how to not die with your magic inside you when you are a creative solopreneur who has so much to give. Now I know exactly what this is about. Now I know who this is for. Now I know what the magic is talking about. Right? So just by naming the who makes it so much clearer.
I love these. I love seeing all these in action. The lesson in Bed Bath & Beyond's 44% crash. And so I would actually rewrite this V2 to be the lesson for new stock market investors about today's 44% drop in Bed Bath & Beyond, right? So moving the who up a little bit, but that's exactly right.
Yeah. So
all right, let's keep rolling.
When in doubt, name the who. All right. Next is, we've kind of been circling around it, is how can you get more specific about the what? So this is always the hardest one for people to wrap their head around. Okay. So when you say, I want to write about something, you need to think about what specifically. Okay. So is this about saving money or is this about investing money? Is this about buying stocks or is this about trading stocks? Is this about making money or is it about not losing money, right? All of these are little nuances that if you say, well, I'm writing about money, right? It's too broad. What specifically about money are you writing about? And the more specific you can get, the easier it is for the reader to understand whether or not they should click. Okay. So let's look at some of what these rewrites look like. 4 things you should feel zero shame for. Well, how can we get more specific about what exactly we're talking about? How about 4 nighttime habits you should feel zero shame for? Oh, okay. These aren't just 4 things broadly. These are 4 nighttime habits. Okay, got it. Right? 12 questions for rigorous thinking. How about 12 questions you can ask to stress test any of your beliefs? Right? Rigorous thinking, very broad. Hey, let's talk about stress testing your beliefs. That's at least a little bit more specific, right? Focus requires escape. No idea what that means. A quick guide to block out distractions and guarantee 30 minutes of flow state per day, right? This is exactly what we're talking about. Blocking out distractions, guaranteeing flow state every day, okay? So let's go through the same thing, right? You have your headline. Maybe you keep the who. How can you get more specific on the what? What exactly? Right?
And as you do that, we're going to keep rolling and talk about the last part of the checklist, which is how to twist the knife.
Here's a great one from Ashley. V1, anyone interested in mental health for attorneys should read this. Not bad. V2, 4 reasons big law attorneys struggle with mental health issues and what can be done about it. The second one is so much more compelling, right? Because we know exactly what we're going to get.
Awesome.
Okay, let's close it out.
Keep this going.
Okay, and then finally is the why. So the why and the twist the knife go together. Okay, so the why is this is what it's about. This is who it's for. But why should I read it? Right? And so the why is kind of, it's all the stuff that comes usually at the end of the headline of all the benefits, right? So take this headline, for example. If you think you're facing a writer's block, try these 6 techniques to, and then we start listing benefits, to instantly get out of it and stick with the habit of writing consistently. That's the why, right? Whereas if the headline just said, if you think you're facing a writer's block, try these 6 techniques. Well, okay, great. If I do the 6 techniques, like why, what am I going to get? Right? You have to say to the reader, these are all the things you're going to unlock. So here's a couple examples, right? 5 habits of financially smart people. Cool. But if I read this, why do I care about being financially smart? Right? And as the writer, it's very easy to get in your ego and be like, well, you just know, right? You just figure it out. No, you have to say it to the reader, right? 5 habits of financially smart people that unlock time, freedom, and 35 years of prosperity. Great. The why is clear. Now I know why I should give this 2 minutes of my life. A job you hate can teach you so much. Let's make the why clearer. Why working a job you hate as a young adult will teach you discipline and focus and set you up for success for the rest of your life. We're just digging into the why. Here's why, here's why, here's why. And that's what makes the reader go, I need to stop what I'm doing and give this my attention.
It just goes back to telling the reader what they're going to get. I mean, my atomic essay headline from today, 6 proven ways to craft an engaging hook. So 6 proven ways of what you're doing to craft an engaging hook. Why? So you can compete with Netflix, compete with TikTok. I followed this checklist almost step by step as I wrote that headline, right? And as you start to see these, you start to see which levers your favorite writers are pulling when they do this.
Yeah. So as a quick little rewrite here, take the headline that you've got and what are 2 or 3 benefits that you can add to the end of your headline, right? Here's what I'm writing about. Here's who it's for. And here's why. Benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3, right? And if you just list out benefits, like this is why we needed to talk about this fear of making headlines too long. Again, if you're writing for a reader and you're telling them about themselves, they are never going to say that's too long, ever, right? So focus more on what are the things that you want to help them with and list them out. Give it to them. Okay. So if anyone's got that, maybe throw in the chat. But what we want to ask is for everyone to take the Clear Not Clever pledge. If you would be so kind, please take the Clear Not Clever pledge in the chat, right? I promise to not write clever headlines. Once you take this pledge, there is no going back. if you go back, we might have to push you overboard.
You're going to walk the plank.
You're
going to
walk
walk the plank.
Okay. So you must promise.
All right. We're going to do a couple rewrites, but why don't you drop in the chat your golden nugget takeaway from this session? Is it clear over clever? Is it specifying the who, what, and why? Is it twisting the knife? Or was it maybe things we talked about? It was a mindset shift around, hey, I can use engaging headlines because I believe what I'm writing is high quality. And I can use long headlines because it means I'm telling the reader exactly what it is. Or does it matter that my favorite authors don't do this? It's going to get more readers. I know that what I'm writing is valuable. Therefore, it's my duty to use whatever I need to do to get readers. I see a bunch of good ones. Clear over clever, use long headlines. The length, it can be long, clear over clever. Who, what, why. What's good about these goals, when we see these, it means we've shown a lot of different golden nuggets because everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah. And this idea of twisting the knife just means listing more reasons why, right? So how to save your first $1,000 so that you can retire early. Cool. We can twist the knife by saying, so you can retire early, buy a beachfront property, travel the world, and have a happy marriage for the rest of your life, right? The more that you list benefits, the more you're twisting the knife. You're just driving home the point as to why.
Yep. Okay, so last time, Cole, before we did breakout rooms, we shortened the breakout rooms last time and did 5 extra minutes of headline rewrites. You want to do that again?
I'm game.
Let's do some headline rewrites. So drop in the chat your V2 headline from today. So everything you've already done to improve it. And then let's do a couple rewrites and then we'll jump into breakout rooms. So 5 minutes of rewrites here. Drop in the chat.
So here's a great, this first one that Frank threw. His V3, 3 steps to become aware of negative thought patterns if you're stuck on your personal growth journey so that you can do what, right? If I solve these negative thought patterns, how does my life change? So you can amp up the why if you lean into, okay, so what happens if? And then the second is, and who's the who, right? You can leave it broad, say anyone who's interested in personal development, but this gains a whole other level of specificity if you go 3 steps college students can use to become aware of negative thought patterns, right? If you can name the who, all of a sudden your topic has so much more resonance to that type of reader.
Here's a good one. I just dropped in 5 quotes to inspire you to bring your whole self to work. That was V1. So good list. 5 quotes to inspire you to bring your whole self to work so you can be more present and focused a little bit more. But what if this was 5 quotes for blanks to bring them or to inspire a specific type of person? Right. So what if instead of writing to everyone, you said, I'm going to write, mindful productivity tips for blank person. And then you name them in every single thing you do. Think about how much more that's going to resonate.
Yeah, 5 quotes for financial advisors to help you
bring your whole self to work. Exactly.
Right. All of a sudden, then that cohort of people goes, hey, this is for me. Right. So it's not rocket science. It's literally just saying, this is who I'm writing this for.
Here's a great one. 5 simple ways to fix your sleep so you become a more present father for your kids. So you could shorten that a little bit and say 5 simple ways fathers can fix their sleep so they can be more present with their children. That's a great headline, right?
And how can we twist the knife, right? Be more present with your children, spend more time with your significant other,
and stop XYZ, right? So flip it and say, and stop, feeling like you're not doing a good job, whatever it is.
Yeah. Here's another good one, Sophia. Know your meme. Why marketers and content creators should think twice before hitting the share button. Okay, but why? Right? We have to hint at the other part of the story. So why should we think twice before hitting the share button? So we can immediately solve this problem by going, why marketers and content creators should think twice before hitting the share button, parentheses, so you don't go viral for the wrong thing. Oh, Okay, now I know exactly what this is about, right? Now I know, so you can really see a lot of writing is actually not about the writing. It's about the thinking. It's like, what is the reader most interested in? What does the reader value the most? And then you say that in the headline, and then the reader goes, hey, that's me. And then they click it.
All right, one more here because I really like this. 5 bullet journal spreads for university students so they never miss a deadline again. Bang. That's how you put it into practice. You got a who, you got a what, you got a why, and then you could even twist the knife even further so they never miss a deadline and increase their GPA or something like that, right? That's amazing.
One more. Hugo, 3 elements of my daily routine as a business owner that set my mindset for the day. Okay, great. But why? If you set your mindset for the day, what happens? Right? So a lot of times when we explain this, people get like 80% of the way there, right? And it's pretty clear. But then you're leaving off the whole last part, which is like, if you set up your mindset for the day, what are all the good things that happen? Or what are all the bad things that don't happen, right? You have to tell the reader, so then the reader goes, oh my gosh, I want to set up my mindset for the day, so I unlock all these things too. And then the content delivers on the promise, and then the reader goes, I love you. And they share your writing with 5 other people.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. I think that's enough of the rewrites. We're going to do some for First Mates after this right away, but let's do some breakout rooms for now. So in your breakout rooms, the goal is to take a headline and rewrite it using your new checklist. And then if you can't stick around for breakout rooms, make sure you claim your badge. You comment on this replay with 1 rewritten headline using the checklist. You're going to unlock your new badge. You're going to unlock the headline checklist, which will come to you via DM. And other than that, why don't we jump into these?
Epic. Let's do it. Just remember, twist that knife. Tell the reader, these are all the amazing things that you're going to get if you read my piece, right? You got to sell them on the idea.
All right, let's go for it.